G'day and welcome to another video. In today's lesson we will learn how to make this really cute tool belt. It can be used for boys and girls, as you will see in a couple more photos. It is easy to adjust and could be used as an apron for cooking as well. Just to adjust the size of the pockets and the apron. It is very easy to do and I will show you how to do this in the video tutorial. So I hope you enjoy this project and let's get started on the lesson. There is also a free written pattern located on my website. I will put all the links that you need in the description box. There's also plenty of more exciting and new tutorials over on my website. So let's get started and see what supplies that we need. For our supplies we're going to need some yarn. I'm going to use Red Heart Super Saver. You can use any thickness of yarn for this project. Worsted weight is about equivalent to a 10 ply yarn. You could easily use 8 ply or sports weight or double knit yarn for this. If you're going to use that, I would suggest a 4mm or a 3.5mm crochet hook. That's about a size G or an F. You want something that's going to give you a bit of a tight tension. But I'm using the worsted weight, which is equivalent to about a 10 ply. And I'm going to use a 4.5mm hook. Or I'm going to use the size 7. Now normally it recommends a 5.5mm or a size I hook, but of course I'm using a smaller hook just to give me tighter tension. I do also have loose tension as well. I'm going to need a tape measure. This isn't compulsory, but it will help you if you don't have the person around to try it on. You can use a tape measure for your measurements. We've got a yarn needle with a large eye. A pair of scissors. These are my new scissors that I found in a shop. They are so cute. So we'll just pop them aside. And we've got our yarn. Let's pop that aside. What we're going to do is I'm just going to use some scrap yarn just to show you how to start off, because I've actually already made my belt section. But I will show you how to do that. We can use the single crochet stitch and we can also use a half double crochet stitch for the belt. I chose the half double crochet, but single crochet would work just as well. I think double crochet would be too loose. It might stretch quite a bit. So if you were going to choose the double crochet, I would suggest really tight tension for that. So grabbing your crochet hook, making a slip knot, we're going to make a chain, and the chain that we make is the width of the belt. Now I'll show you what I've got. Like I said, I've already completed part of mine. Now this is my belt. This belt is big enough to tie up around a 4-year-old's waist. You're probably going to ask me how long that is, aren't you? I actually have no idea, so I can measure that for you right now. So it is 42 inches or about 110 centimeters. So it's, I folded it in half, so it's twice that. So it's 42. So I don't know if this goes up to 42. No, it doesn't. So it's 42 inches or about 110 centimeters, and that's enough to do up at the back. So the chain that we're making is going to be the width that our belt is across there. So when we add our next part of our tool belt to it, it's going to come off this section and hang down this way. So this bit goes around the waist. So the chain that you make is going to be the width of your belt. Now I've just guessed, I haven't even counted. So we could do about that many, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've done 11 chains. Don't forget I'm using worsted weight. If you're using 8 ply you could do a couple more, but again it's just up to you and how wide you want the belt to be. So I'm using a half double crochet stitch. if you're using a single crochet, you're still going to go into the second chain from the hook. So we don't count the one that's on the crochet hook. Here's number 1 and here's number 2. So we're going to yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through all loops. We're going to complete every chain across, sorry, for a half double crochet. So it's yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, and pull through all 3. And we're going to repeat this all the way across. So it's going to look something like this. Now what we want to do is complete the next row, so we're going to chain 1. But what I do to get a nice neat edge, see how the edges up here are quite neat, what I do is I chain 1, I half double crochet, and you can use this for the single crochet as well if you were using that stitch. Go into that first stitch. Normally you chain 1 or 2 and then you would go into that stitch there. What I do is I go into here, and then when I come back across the row I don't go into that chain 1. So the chain 1 at the beginning of the row does not count as a stitch. So we're going to half double crochet all the way across. Loop's a bit loose there. And we also want to remember to go into the last stitch, which is here. If we don't go in that last stitch, it's gradually going to decrease and you'll end up with a triangle instead of a rectangle. So we're working into the last stitch, chain 1, turn our work, and then go into the first stitch for a half double crochet and work your way across. And I'll show you what you do when you get to the other end, because this other end will now have the chain 1 from the previous row. Okay, so the chain 1 is just here, and our half double crochet that we did in the first stitch is there. See how those 2 loops going across there? So we're working under both of those and working our half double crochet, and the chain 1 just gets left. We don't do anything at all. So we repeat that row until you have the length that you desire. So as they say in the classics, here's one I prepared earlier. This is my belt. I've completed it. Of course I haven't sewn in my ends, as you can see. What we're going to do is we're going to fold it in half. Then just grab a stitch marker. This isn't compulsory, but it'll help you figure out where the middle is. Actually, let's get one that shows a bit better. So that's just going to remind us where the centre of our belt is. And what you're going to do now is decide, I can almost get in the camera, we're going to decide how far across we want the pouch part to be. Now, if you have the child, which I don't have a child to try it on, it's going to be a lot easier, and you can put it around their waist, and you could probably even just put stitch markers where you want it to come to when it's on their waist. But I'm going to have to eyeball it because, well, there's no 4-year-old at this place and it's going to be a present. So I am just going to guess, and what I'm going to be guessing is how wide it's going to be on the child. So when you see people wear tool belts, they almost go sort of from hip to hip, don't they? They don't just sit on the front of the person, they kind of wrap around the side as well. So I guess if you had the waist measurement, you could divide it by 2 and then put that measurement across here. I don't have that, so I'm just going to guess. And I'm thinking that, from memory, he's probably about that wide. He's only a skinny little thing, but he, yeah, he's a typical 4-year-old. So I'm going to save to about there. So I'll measure that for you so you know what I'm doing. There's some great measurement charts and things online too. So you can always use that if you're not sure. So from my stitch marker to where I said I was going to go to is 17 centimetres. 17, or let's just say 7 inches. We'll go 7 inches. So 7 inches. Got another stitch marker? Yes, I do. And for stitch markers, you can also use hair clips. And if you don't have hair clips, in desperation, the other day I used one of these paper clips. And you know what? It actually worked quite well. It did fall out. See how I've bent it over? It did keep falling out, so I just bent the edges over. I do have professional stitch markers, but hey, this is more fun. So I just bent it over like that, just so that it won't fall out really easy. Because it was marking something the other day and it fell out, and then I had no idea where I was up to. That, my friends, is not fun. Okay, so grabbing your yarn, what you're going to do is you're going to turn it around so that the stitch markers are at the top. Just looking at that thinking, is that big enough? Yeah, that looks about big enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our yarn and we're going to join it to the first stitch marker. So this is the one that's closest to the end of the belt. So I can actually take that out. Just lay your yarn over your crochet hook, pull through at the back. Do a chain stitch just to join, and I've just pulled on the piece at the back, and that's tightens that down into our stitch. What we're going to do is we're going to half double crochet across. So yarning over, going into the same stitch as where we put our yarn. Now technically there's not really stitches across the side because we're working into the side of our work. So we are going to create this stitch ourselves. So you've just crocheted that whole strip, so you'll know roughly how big the space is between each stitch. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just looking at it and I'm going, okay, each stitch is probably spaced out about that much. Try not to go, so don't go in there and create a big hole. Try and go into the edge of the stitching. It is a little bit tricky sometimes to work along the edge, but you can get it. What we're going to do is we're going to crochet across until we get to the last stitch marker. So that's my middle one. My other one's down here. I can actually take that one out. And we're going to crochet across until we get to this stitch marker. So you can see where I started over here. Might be able to see, but it's a little big bump. Little big bump, that didn't make any sense. There's a little bump. How can something be a little big? And then I've crocheted over here. I've taken out my stitch marker already. What we're going to do when we get to the end, we're going to work rows like we did for our belt. So chain 1, turn your work around, and then half double crochet into that very first stitch. And then in every stitch across. And I don't really need to show you what to do now because you've just done so many rows down here that you already know what you're doing. So what we're going to do is going to half double crochet all the way across until we get to the end of that section. We're going to chain 1 and then go all the way back across. You're going to make as many rows as you want. In a second you'll see how many rows I've completed. And till then, happy crochet, and I will see you in just a bit. I have completed 13 rows of half double crochet. So I now have the base to our pattern, so where we can add our pockets and all the extra bits that you want to add on. So to make your pockets, I've already made one, I just have to make the other one. What I did was I chained 17 and then I half double crocheted into the second stitch from the hook, and then I continued on like we did with our other half double crochet strip that we made. And I've got how many rows have I got? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I've got 16 rows altogether. And when it's on my little tool bag, or tool belt I should say, I was going to line it up with the second row, so I was going to put the base of this one at the base of the second row. And you know, I might bring it in a little bit more, but that's what I was going to do. And then it lines up about, I'd say, half an inch from the top. And we're going to stitch that down. So I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to position these pockets yet, so it may look a little bit different when I actually sew them on. But I'm going to make 2, and I'm going to put one there, so that one finishes there. So I'm going to have a little gap down the middle. I may make a little tiny pocket so that you could put something skinny in there. You know, it may not be a crochet hook, but it might be a little paintbrush or something with a narrow handle, so you could put that in there. That's an idea as well. You could make a little strip about 2 inches wide and about half an inch tall, and you could put a little strip here and a little strip there, and that will just, if your paintbrush or whatever was in there, it would just hold it in 2 places instead of having an actual pocket. You could do that as well. So I'm going to make another pocket. You can make them any size that you want, but I just wanted to tell you how many I had just in case you wanted to make it the same. There will be a free written pattern for this on my website. All the links that you need will be in the description box. So go and make your pockets, and then I'll show you how to attach them. Also, when I made my pockets, I did leave a long tail, and this is to attach your pocket to the background. Doesn't matter if you haven't, you can just cut off a piece of yarn and attach it on, but that's what I've done. I've just left a long tail. I would say it's probably 16, 17 inches long. It actually goes around the outside of the pocket once, if you lay it down. And then I've got an extra bit, so that should be enough to sew it on. Once we have our pocket complete, just finish off the end. Just put your yarn through your loop that was on your crochet hook and pull that through. And to do the stitching, I've got a length of yarn. It goes all the way around the outside plus a little bit more. And we're going to go through the holes. See these holes here? That's where we're going to go through. So go through the back, leave a little bit for a tail to secure it on at the end, and we're just weaving in and out of the stitches across the top. Now, a little hint when you're stitching, if you pull it really tight, see how it kind of disappears? I've done this other one already and I didn't pull tight, and can you see how these stitches kind of stick out more than those ones? So what I did was, instead of pulling really tight, if you found that you've pulled too tight, grab your needle and just put it underneath the blue section and just pull it up so it's quite loose. Well, not loose, but see what I mean? It's really hard to show you on camera. But so that's what it looks like when it's not so tight, and that's what it looks like when it's tight. So you just want them to sit on top of the stitching rather than be really flat against it. I hope that made sense. It really didn't sound like it made sense. So then we're going to come through the back, and then we're going to weave along the edge. I don't think I'll be able to go the whole way because my needle will run out. And again, when you pull this through, don't pull it really tight, and also make sure that it's sitting, this cream section is sitting flat. Okay, so see how that stitch has disappeared? That's because I've got it too tight. And that one's almost non-existent. So we're just getting behind it and then pulling it up so it's sitting on top. May have to pull that up as a big loop and then go back and one keeps disappearing. There we go. Alright, so continue all the way around until we get back to the end. So I've gone all the way around, and what I've done is I've come back to the beginning and then I've just tied a knot with the two yarns because I think the stitching will come undone if we just sew our ends in. So finding your scissors, we can snip that off. And we need to sew in all our ends. So I will do that later. And what we need to do now is get yourself organised and lay down. Oh, I need to just finish that off so it doesn't come undone. Lay down your pockets. And that looks so cute. I have to make someone for myself. Don't know what I'll use it for, but it looks adorable. Okay, and I think I might actually make a skinny one to go in the middle there. We'll see what it looks like when it's sewn together. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab your tail, you're going to find your needle. Sometimes I wish this camera would zoom out just a little bit more because sometimes you can't fit everything in the screen. Where are we? So that, just move that out of the way for a second. So deciding where you want to place it, you're going to thread your needle and you're going to stitch down along the bottom and then along the side. You can leave that at the top, you can leave that open. And I thought whilst I was stitching that on, if you did a reverse single crochet across the top there, that would look really, really cute. But I'm going to just leave it plain. And what we're going to do is, you could even pin that. If you've got some big pin, you could pin that so it doesn't move. Because you don't want to sew your pockets on crooked. That would be bad. So what you're going to do is, we pick up the stitches. This is going to be, so here is our pocket, and that is our band. Pick up the stitches closest to the band. If you stick a needle out here, you're going to have this big long stitch. So you want to pick up the stitch closest to your pocket. And if you're using a different colour, so if you're sewing the pocket on and it's a different colour to your band. And with any colour, it doesn't really matter. What we need to do is pick up the stitches on the front of the crochet. So what that means is, if you're going to sew through, you would go right through and you'd come out at the back. But what we want to do is pick up the stitches on the front. So putting your needles through the stitches that are just on the front of the work. If you turn it over, you shouldn't be able to see your needle. We can't. So pull that through and then work through our piece of our pocket. And when you're sewing on eyes or anything to a hat, anything to anything really, pick up those stitches on the front, and that way if your flower's a different colour to your hat, when you turn your hat inside out, you won't be able to tell that you've actually stitched it on. I mean, of course you know you have, but you won't be able to see where you've done it, which makes your hat look really good, or whatever project that you're making. Okay, so continue on working around 3 sides of the pocket, leaving the top section open. So I've stitched both my pockets on and it's looking super cute. What I've made is this little tab, and I did 15 chains and half double crocheted into the second chain, and then made 1, 2, 3 rows. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch it on up the top here, but I'm going to move it in a little bit from the pocket, and the same on the other side, but then I'm going to stitch it down in the middle so that there's 2. Let's just pretend that this is what we want to put in there. There's going to be 2 of those. So oh look, we've even got 2 crochet hooks. What are the odds? Oh look, and they're both blue. So it's going to be stitched down like that. So I'm going to be stitching along the edge and along this edge, and then also a couple of stitches in the middle to make that stick down. They're even both, yeah, they're both the same size crochet hook. Jeez, I'm thinking about blue crochet hooks. So that's what I'm going to do with that. So I'm going to stitch that down off the camera because you know how to stitch down already. So there we go. I've got my tool belt finished. I think this has turned out super cute. I'm going to see if I can find some tools to put in this. I might have to buy some at the toy shop for my little friend. But I think this looks really cute. This would also be great for a little apron. You could make the bottom piece longer. You could make the pockets wider. This pattern's quite easy to change up to what you need. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, there will be plenty more videos to come. The free written pattern is on my website. There's plenty of other video tutorials and written patterns over there for you to check out. Don't forget to join our Google Plus community and also share your creations on our Facebook page. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy crochet!